Hi, my name is Loretta Notareschi, and I'm a composer and a professor of music in Denver, Colorado. I'm 37 years old, and my family is Italian-American. My father is an Italian immigrant, and my mother is of German extraction, from Ohio. I'd like to talk a little bit about my music. My style I like to think of as neo-romantic, but with a sense of humor. In other words, I like to seek melodic and narrative unity and cohesiveness in my music, but at the same time I have a sense of whimsy and lightheartedness in some of my pieces. I found the themes for the Biennial of the Americas to be very inspiring for my composition, which is in progress right now. The working title is Promise and Peril, and both of those words are drawn from the themes for the Biennial. And I think in terms of, for this piece, in terms of two contrasting ideas. So I've been working with different materials that both sort of contrast with each other and interrelate and interact in different ways. And I've been seeking out different ways to also incorporate some of the other words that were part of the themes, including words like revelation and complex. For revelation, I'm thinking about how can a certain musical material be kind of hidden and then gradually emerge. And for complex, just thinking about the many different ways that materials come to influence and interact with one another in a piece of music. I'm also using some pitch material that my mentee composer Katina and we've been both using. She went online and found a keyboard, a musical keyboard, where each of the pitches is assigned a certain letter, and she took some of those words from the biennial themes and plugged them into this keyboard and based on how they're spelled, and came up with certain musical patterns. So this was kind of a chance-based way of coming up with musical material, sort of the equivalent of rolling the dice. But some of the little musical fragments that she derived this way were actually really, really interesting. And so I've been using those as the basis for my improvisations as I work with the other ideas of the contrasting materials, the promise and peril, and with the idea of revelation and complex.
My name is Katina Jakel. I'm 16 years old and I'm currently in 11th grade. Biologically, I'm Panamanian, but I was raised by a Korean culture. I've been playing piano since I was 8. I played clarinet for 1 year in 9th grade, and I've been composing since I was 11 years old. So in my piece, I currently have it named Over Your Head. And in my piece, I mostly worked on the words complex and revolutionary. I tried to show these ideas by merging them together. In the beginning of my piece, I kind of represent revolutionary by having a bunch of different ideas coming up and gradually getting faster and stronger to kind of show what revolutions are like. And then towards the middle of my piece, I have it transferring into the complex, because revolutions are complex. And it starts to kind of get a minor feel, and it starts to slow down a bit, but eventually it starts gaining pace and it becomes even more complex with rhythms and different melodies.
So I'm looking here at the beginning of your piece, and I'm wondering what the dynamic is for the flute and the clarinet.
I'll probably want it to be piano, since it's kind of just the start of the piece.
And it's got this slow tempo. And then I see you have a fermata here. Are you thinking of pausing between these two parts?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of have a pause after the fermata, but I didn't really know how to put it in.
Mm-hmm. So there's two ways you could do it. You could do it with a breath mark or with a rest. It depends on how long that pause is going to be. So how long do you think it's going to be?
At least a measure.
Okay, so maybe when you are working on your draft and you're going through it, just sort of count how many beats you're doing, and then put that in the rests. And of course, you can always put a fermata over your rest too. So I was looking at this section of your piece, and I noticed that the clarinet suddenly has these 16th notes, whereas before they had 8th notes. And you seem to be building up to some kind of climax here. Tell me about what you're trying to achieve with this section of the piece.
I'm trying to, because this is the complex section, I'm trying to make it more simple and then more complex, but I don't really know how to do that without suddenly doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does look a little bit sudden, and I wonder if you might work with the proportions of the piece a little bit, making the previous section, which is actually pretty long, maybe making it a little bit shorter, and this section where the climax is coming longer, and so that you have more time to build up to that climax. And, think about maybe how the flute can help out with the climax. Right here you're kind of giving it all to the clarinet, but what could the flute do to aid that?
I'll probably expand on this section because there's already some 8th or 16th notes in the flute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe throughout here, continue having a few 16th notes here or there to kind of support the clarinet as it's getting louder and faster.